Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to sit in on this hearing. And I also want to thank you for coming to Arizona this week when we gathered to honor Brian and to have a Border Patrol station named for him. This young man sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice for our country, and your presence there, I think, gave the family a sense that the Congress was concerned and was trying to do their best to find answers to the questions that they have. I've talked with the family, and when I met with them this week, they had one question and one request from us. They asked that we make sure that they get the information that they have been waiting for, that's been on their minds and in their hearts for 21 months. To me, it's outrageous that they haven't gotten answers sooner. They want to know what happened to Brian. Why were guns that were allowed to go into Mexico with the full knowledge of personnel in the federal government and that ultimately ended up at the scene of his murder in Rio Rico, Arizona. They want to know who made the decision to launch Fast and Furious. They want to know who should be held accountable for these decisions and what the consequences they will face. Mr. Horowitz, I want to thank you and your staff for what is obviously a tremendous amount of work in preparing this report. It's, in my view, a report that has tremendous credibility and objectivity. And I think finally, the Terry family is beginning, but just beginning, to get the answers they deserve that are long overdue. And I don't believe they have yet received the answers to all of their questions, and I'd like to address those in just a moment. Agent Terry, as we know, made the ultimate sacrifice for his country. Nothing we can do will bring him back, but he and his family deserve to know what happened and who was responsible. Your findings prove that serious flaws in policy and inadequate oversight and flagrant disregard for public safety allowed American weapons to fall in the hands of violent Mexican criminals and drug cartel members as a part of Operation Fast and Furious. It should never have been the policy of this government to allow these firearms to be smuggled knowingly into Mexico, and the program should never have been proved, and it must never happen again. So I have a question or two for you, Mr. Horowitz. You said that steps have been taken already to prevent a reoccurrence. Can you say specifically a couple of those steps that you believe will prevent a reoccurrence that are already in place?
Well, as we've put in our report, the ATF has instituted a variety of restrictions on when this type of activity can occur. So that's first. Second, there have now been put in place steps to require various levels of supervisory review that didn't exist before. And so, for example, those are two that ATF has done as identified. We've suggested others and a more thorough review of the policies and practices to make sure others are caught, such as requiring ATF to abide by the undercover operation rules that the Attorney General has in place.
Thank you for that. The family believes, and I agree with them, that they may well have been deliberately kept in the dark about Brian's death and the circumstances surrounding it. Did your investigation reveal that this was discussed within the department and why it was not determined that the family should know more sooner?
I don't recall us seeing evidence of discussion specifically about what to tell Terry family. I'd have to go back and refresh myself on that, but I don't recall that being the basis, if that was occurring, that was what was being discussed in the emails we saw.
And one more question in the remaining time. We've heard that there were internal disputes within the Department of Justice at the field level that allowed Fast and Furious to walk guns into Mexico, specifically that there was a dispute between the ATF and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Can you speak to what you found regarding this issue, please?
Yes, that's a very important issue that we take on and address, because there has been the suggestion from agents that, well, they couldn't seize or take action because the U.S. Attorney's Office had a restrictive view on what they could do or not do. That was an issue, and that was a concern. in other cases. What we found here in Fast and Furious was that didn't exist. From the outset, both the U.S. Attorney's Office and the agents at ATF decided they wanted to get to the top of the organization, and the way to do that was to take no action as to the straw purchasers. It wasn't, in our view, a legal problem, an issue about the evidence. It was a tactical decision that was made by both entities.
Well, thank you for your testimony.
Would the gentleman yield?
Mr. Chairman.